Doing a little quilting the modern way. Yes, let the machine do all the work.
Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, March the 1st, 2021. Yes, we're into March, which means spring is only about a month away, maybe, and that'll be nice. And it is day 355 of my COVID isolation experience, whatever you want to call it. Actually, I think we should just call it normal, because that's what life's been like, right? We're getting used to this, I think. Maybe not. Anyways, moving along. So, what have I got to show you? Well, I do not have anything hanging up behind me, but that doesn't mean I don't have something to show you in the line of a quilt. I have finished the Aussie quilt completely, which means that I have now layered it, I have quilted it, and I have bound it. So it is completely finished. Now, the reason it's not hanging up behind me to show to you is because I thought I would show you some pictures of it where you can see the whole quilt a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is insert that little clip right here, right now. So I'm very proud of the Aussie quilt, and I'm glad it's done. That was a big job, since I basically made two quilts in one, because it is now a reversible quilt because of the way I did the backing on it. What else have I been working on? Well, I showed you last week the placemats that I'm making for charity, and I do have the second set of those done, the ones I call the more modern design, and here's one of them just to show you what I did as far as quilting was concerned. I really didn't do a lot of quilting. I just put this on my embroidery machine and did this quilting design in the center. Now, I could add more to it, but I didn't, because quite frankly, I didn't want to spend any more time on these. These are just a quick project for charity. But they're done. And even though this was a bit of a tedious pattern, not a hard pattern, but a tedious pattern, I think they turned out kind of nice. They've got a very modern feel to them with these colors. And with these colors, basically, they'd go with almost any kind of decor. I don't know, do people really worry about their placemats as far as how they go with the rest of the surroundings, like in your dining room? I don't. I just, the placemats that I use are ones that I like the fabric, and so I thought I'd make some placemats out of. I don't really care if they go with my couch or my kitchen set or whatever like that, but maybe some people do. I suppose if you leave your placemats out on your table all the time, they are a home decor element, so maybe you do want them to coordinate much more closely with the way you've decorated your room, but I don't. I don't leave mine out on my kitchen table. I just bring them out when we're going to eat. Usually there is a table runner on that table, and there's been one on there now for a year. Walter made it. That's why I haven't removed it. It's a nice table runner, but I think it's time to switch things up, and maybe I should make a new table runner for that table as well. I can switch it out with Walter's back and forth, just so he doesn't feel like I'm snubbing him or whatever. Anyways, the other project I'm working on is not done. I decided I needed a break from quilting, so I went to embroidery. And yes, I'm having problems again with my embroidery machine. Maybe. I don't know for sure. I talked a little bit about that yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, and I might talk about it in a little bit more detail on this week's Idiot Quilter, so I'm not going to get into it here. But needless to say, I'm thinking that maybe, this problem may rear its ugly head. But in the meantime, I'm working on this. This is a freestanding lace design, and it's called Lighthouse. I have an affinity to lighthouses. I don't know why. Anything to do with, the sea in a way, like ships and, seashells and lighthouses and that kind of thing. And yet, I am not somebody that's really into water. You know, I'm not a swimmer. I can swim, but I mean, I'm not a swimmer. I'm not a beach lover or anything like that. But this kind of things appeal to me. So I bought this a while ago because it was on sale on the embroidery site I go to. And I just thought, well, let's get it out and start working on it. There's a lot of pieces to this, so it's going to take some time. I'm about 2/3 of the way through making the pieces. I'm going to try and finish it up sometime this week. If you come to Craft and Chat this week, and we'll talk about that in a moment, this may be what I'm working on because I got a couple of busy days coming up with other things. So anyways, that's what I'm working on, and when I get it done, I will show it to you. All right, so that's what I've been working on. So that takes us to the YouTube channel of the week. Now, everybody knows about the retreat that I'm having on March the 20th, and it's all going to be done by Zoom. But it has come to my realization that there are some people out there that this may be their very first time using Zoom. And Zoom is very, very easy to use, but it can be a little intimidating. And it also depends on what platform you're using it on. If you're using it on a desktop or a laptop or an iPhone or an iPad or a tablet, an Android tablet or phone. It will work on all of those things. And as I said, it's very easy to use. But I found, while I'm looking for information that I could send out to the people who have registered for the retreat about using Zoom, I found a whole playlist by a guy called Ben Finio. Finio. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, and I'm sorry if he ever watches this, probably not. But he has an extensive playlist of very quick, fast tutorials about various aspects about Zoom, and I find them really interesting. Zoom is a very powerful program once you get into, go beyond just the basics of connecting up and seeing other people. So I thought you might be interested in exploring this because, well, this is a Zoom universe these days, isn't it? So here's my review of that. This week's YouTube channel is actually a playlist that you'll find very helpful if you're a Zoom user or if you've only used Zoom a couple of times. This is by a man called Ben Finio, I think is how you say his last name. And he has a whole bunch of short but informative videos on using Zoom. And there are so many things that Zoom can do that I did not realize. His tutorials are extremely clear, very professionally done, very easy to follow. So if you want to become more of an expert in this time when we're all on Zoom, then check out this playlist by Ben Finio. So as always, in the show notes, I've listed the link to that playlist. There's a link to the latest Stephen and Walter Live. Stephen and Walter Live this week, I talked a little bit more about my dilemma with my guild, which is now over. I may see something briefly about that a little later on in today's vlog. But if you want to hear it a little bit more and you want to hear some foul language coming out of my mouth about it, and I'm sorry about that, but I think you'll be able to understand if you watch Stephen and Walter Live, then yeah, tune into that, links below. What else is there? Oh, I have a new episode, of course, of The Idiot Quilter, episode 103, and there is a link to this week's Craft and Chat. Let's take a minute and just talk about that. Now, those of you that are my regulars, you know all about this, but I've been getting some new people every week, so I just want to make you aware of that. On the first Wednesday of every month, I run a Zoom meeting called Craft and Chat. It's open to anybody for any kind of craft. Quilting, sewing, scrapbooking, card making, ATCs, mixed media, art journaling, whatever you make, pottery. We haven't had any potters on there, but pottery, anything you make. And what we do is we just get together for a few hours on a Wednesday afternoon starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it runs, originally I was only going to run to about 3, but right now I think we've been running until about 4. So basically 3 hours of a group of people coming together and just working on whatever they're working on. There is no formal structure to this. I will probably ask people what they're working on. People just sort of have a conversation about whatever comes up. Now, the one thing we don't talk about, we do not talk about COVID. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about anything that gives people pain, drama. This is drama free, okay? So you come on and it's just relaxing 3 hours. And I find that I really enjoy it myself because I'm feeling very productive. I get inspired by the people who are on there with their crafts. I learn things from other people. And the group that have been coming out lately, it's becoming sort of, I have my regulars, they've become friends. And that's the way I think they feel too. Although we've never physically met, in most cases, we're meeting through Zoom. So it is open to anybody. If you can't come right at 1 o'clock, but you still want to jump in at some point in time, you can do that. If you can't stay to 4, there's no requirement to do so. You can jump back out. It's totally there for you to use. Whatever fits into your schedule, whatever you want to do. So don't be shy. You will not be put on the spot. There is nothing but support. Nothing but support. No criticism, nothing like that. No negativity. No one's negative. Okay. So the Zoom link for this is in the show notes. And so feel free to, click on that, at 1 o'clock or after this coming Wednesday. Coming Wednesday's what? March the 3rd? Yeah, March the 3rd. Tripping over my tongue this morning for some reason. Coffee. It's still early here. I don't know if you can tell by the clock that's behind me, but it's 7:34 in the morning. Walter's still in bed. This is my time of day. I love this time of day. It's quiet. I get a lot of things done. I'm very productive in the morning. Of course, mind you, I get up so early that by the time the afternoon comes, I'm kind of a thing. Anyways, I digress as usual. So I hope you can join us this coming Wednesday for a craft and chat. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. Really, I've been going through a very pissy time with my guild, and I don't want to talk about that right now. Okay, I've talked about it until the cows come home, and I think that's part of what's been making me, or put me into a pissy mood. So I have to move beyond that. So there isn't anything. I thought I wouldn't have anything to be pissed off at this week. And then I started watching some of the YouTube videos I subscribe to. And I hear various content makers talking about planned trips, vacations, or things to go visit family in other areas of their country, other states, other provinces, and things like that. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, just because you run a YouTube channel doesn't mean you're exempt from the restrictions that have been placed upon us to protect us from COVID. And as a YouTube content creator, I think we have a responsibility to our viewers. And I think that responsibility is to set an example. Now, yeah, I know. People put up YouTube videos for various reasons. Everything from it's their business to, they just want a forum to bitch at people with. Not that I would ever do that. Crickets. Or, to share their favorite hobbies and things like that. Whatever, it's a hobby. That's the way I look at YouTube. But I think we have a responsibility because, in a sense, some are sort of celebrities on YouTube. Others, like myself, we're just ordinary people. We're not really at celebrity status, but we have a forum. And this forum is this. This goes out to a lot of people. Yes, I'm small potatoes. You've heard me say that before. But I have I just went over 4,000 subscribers, which thrills me. However, it took me, about 8 years to get there. Okay? So, but other ones have like millions of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So I think we have an obligation to the public, to our viewers, to make sure that we are not doing things that promote bad behavior. And one of those things that I've been noticing lately are these YouTubers who are talking about going off and meeting up with other people. They're going on trips. I was watching one the other day, a very popular YouTube channel. I'm not going to say which one it is. It's in the crafting community. It's actually in the quilting community. And this lady on there is trucking off to California from wherever she lives for some sun and surf, whatever. And I don't think that's good. Also, you hear about other ones talking about, yeah, well, they went off to see the grandkids, or they had a little family gathering, or something like that. All of those things right now are still, at least in my province, maybe in other parts of the world, maybe the restrictions aren't as severe as they are here, but nevertheless, they're promoting bad behavior, suggesting, yeah, okay, fine, there's a vaccine out there now, so let's all go back to normal. Let's just, shop until we drop, forget about the masks, go on trips, do what we used to do pre-COVID. And I don't think that's good. Because you want to know something? This is a powerful medium. Yes, it's YouTube. It's amateurs on here. But anything that's on a screen, we have been trained since we were small children. I mean, most people, I think, that are alive today, unless you're about 100, have grown up with media. Maybe it was radios at a time for the really older generation, but for most of us, it's been television. And we have been trained by the people who produce television programs, especially news, that what you see on the screen is real. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We know that saying. Well, that's been extended into the media world, whereby if it's on a screen, it must be real, and then our mind makes another leap, then it must be true. And it's not. One thing I'll say about the past president of the United States, the Orange Cheeto, as some people call him, he had it right when he did label the news as fake news. Because yes, to a certain degree, not to the degree he was going on with it, but to a certain degree, there is a lot of spinning. They call it spinning. They do in the media, where they basically make a story or present a story in such a way that it sounds like it's the absolute God-given truth, but there is bias built into it, to say the least. It's been twisted, things have been omitted, things have been embellished in all of that. So we are used to that. So our minds, our critical thinking brain is dulled, and we just accept what we see. Well, YouTube is very much the same. Depending on your presence as a content deliverer, how you speak, how you hold yourself, your editing, I don't have any of that, you can sound very convincing. You can sound like an authority because, well, again, we've been trained to think if someone has something on screen and they're talking about a specific topic, they must be an expert. So there's even a term for content creators on YouTube called influencers. These are people on YouTube who usually have sponsors, and they talk about maybe, say, a product that they really like. Well, they're also making, in some cases, not all cases, some cases they are getting some money from the company that has that product, or they've been given a free product to test or review. And so, depending on how confident they sound in their voice, the way they look at you in the camera, all those kind of things, all the tricks that the media person know and use on regular television, if they're using those same tricks, you believe them. So there's a great responsibility on the shoulders of YouTube content creators, I think, given what I've just said about them being influencers, etc., to, put out the correct information about things. And by turning around and saying that you're off to this trip, or you're off to this, convention or conference or retreat, or you're off to somebody else's house, or you're having other people in your house that don't live in your house 24/7. All of that is, as an influencer, you're influencing bad behavior. So that's really what I'm pissed off about. The power of this medium. People must realize that there is power in this medium. Use it wisely and responsibly. Okay, so that was this week's rant. Let's move on, shall we? And let's talk about a product review. Okay, just said I am not sponsored. Okay, I'm not sponsored by this or anything. Anytime I talk about a product, it's something I use and something I believe in and something that I want to share with you. Sometimes I'll also put up products that I was very disappointed in as well. But this one's a simple one. It's a glue stick. And you've seen this glue stick. It's called Elmer's Washable School Glue. It's a good product. Okay, it works really well. It's great if you have kids, okay, because it comes out of their clothes and off of their hands and off their face and off your walls and off your carpet and off the dog. But why do I have it? Well, I am a crafter, okay? Of course, this is not the glue that I would use when I'm crafting because, you know, its ability to hold things is not so great. What do I use it for? I use it on the bed of my 3D printer. It helps hold down what they call the first layers in a print. Works really well and it comes right off your plate. You can wash it. It's not a problem. But these little suckers can be pricey. So, you know, if you go to Walmart and you can get them singularly or you can buy them in packs of 4 or 6 or something like that, they're pricey. And, you know, there's really not a lot of glue in these. Not if you're using it for something like I'm using it. You go through one of these pretty quickly. So I looked for, you know, where I could get them for a little cheaper. Of course, where did I go? I went to Amazon. And yes, you can buy mass quantities of these, but they're actually not that great a deal on Amazon. However, Amazon, I have discovered, has their own brand of some products. They call it Amazon Basics. And look for them. Do a search. Go in Amazon Basics. You'll find a list of all kinds of products that are the ones that you use probably the most. They are a little cheaper. I wouldn't say considerably cheaper, but they're cheaper. And the quality so far, well, at least in the case of a glue stick, and here we go. It is a washable glue stick. It is made by Amazon. It's their brand. It's exactly the same as the purple top, which is the same as the Elmer's. The Elmer's has the purple top, okay? And it's washable. So I bought a box of 30 of these. And I think 30 of these glue sticks cost me, I think it was about $16.99. I think with a little tax on it, came out to about $17 and something for 30 of these. I bought 6 of these, I think, in a package on Amazon some time ago, and I think it was about $11.99, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but that was for 6. This is for 30. Now, is there a difference in size? Yes, there is. This says it's 8 grams in the Elmer's. In the Amazon, it's 7 grams. Okay, so 1 gram less you're getting in here. But I got 30 of them for, you know, what's that work out? I don't know, I can't do the math. But it was cheaper. The one thing I was a little worried about was, will they work as well as the Elmer's? And speaking of influencers, like I mentioned before, a name like Elmer's, you just, because you've heard it so much, it's been advertised so much over the years, you immediately reach for it because it's a brand name. So you might think, well, this is like a dollar store glue stick. It's not going to be that great. Well, that's what I thought, but I thought I'd take a chance. Not a problem. Works just as well as this for a lot less money. So check out Amazon brands because you can maybe get a deal. Now, I don't know if everything that Amazon has as their own brand is as good as the name brand. I have no idea. But as far as glue sticks are concerned, they are. And if you go through a lot of glue sticks, and you might if you got kids or you're a crafter, then you might want to look into this. I do not have a link for this in my show notes. It's easy enough to find. Just go into Amazon, do a search. Just call it Amazon brand glue sticks. You'll find them, okay? Or anything else that's Amazon brand. And as I said, I am not being paid for this or sponsored. I'm just showing you something that's working for me. Okay, so that's all I bought. Kind of boring, right? Yeah. Oh, well, there's always this week. Who knows what I might order. All right, so let's see, what's that taking me to now? Okay, so last week I told you one of the stories, Poonie on a Pillow, as I called it, about my grandmother Bland. And you may think, well, yeah, she's a real weird duck, wasn't she? Stuffed her puppy. Yeah, but that's not the end of the stories about my grandmother, so I'm going to tell you another one. And this one has to do with a certain food that I will not eat today because my grandmother basically made me sick of it. And I'll come to what that is in a second. My grandmother, talking about being influenced by television, back in the 60s, when my grandparents had a television, I always remember them having a television. I remember for years it was black and white, then they finally got a color. But nevertheless, my grandmother had her stories that she needed to watch each day. And when I call them the stories, I mean the soaps, the soap operas. She'd have that TV on all day long while she was doing her housework or cooking or whatever. And of course, in those days, television sets were not as portable. They weren't flat screens. So she'd have it in her living room. She'd be way out in her kitchen, but she'd have the volume turned way up so she could hear her stories. She'd also sit down and watch it as well, you know, right next to Poonie in her cashmere sweater. And she was very much taken up with commercials. She would watch the commercials. Now, in that day and age, commercials were very different than they are today. They were almost like a little story unto themselves. They'd have a little plot. There'd be certain ones where they would be demonstrating the product. They weren't the type of commercials we have today because, you know, the way that commercials are designed today, they know people have remote controls and are just going to skip through, or they've got, you know, their program on demand, or they've got it PVR'd or whatever to it, so they can get by the advertisements. But in that day and age, there was none of that. You basically had to sit through the commercial. So they made the commercials a little bit more entertaining. Well, my grandmother was very much influenced by those television commercials, especially ones about food. She'd see some kind of product for a new food product and she'd want to try it. She'd want to buy it. However, my grandmother was one of these kind of people who was a DIYer before it was even popular to be that kind of person. And she would try to imitate what she saw on TV. And one of those things she saw was pancakes. Now, not that my grandmother didn't know how to make pancakes. She did. But my grandmother loved the theatrical aspects of TV commercials. And so she would see this commercial of them piling pancakes up on a plate, the stack, okay, of pancakes, and it dripping with syrup and butter all down the sides. And she thought that looked delicious. And she wanted to copy that. And she thought it would be great to do that when the grandkids were over, because she knew, especially with me, that I loved pancakes. Now, just to step aside from this for a minute, there are certain foods as a kid that I loved and I wanted my mother to make as often as possible, and my mother didn't. One of those was spinach, which I loved cooked spinach. These are in the days before, you know, it was real trendy to make a spinach salad with baby spinach. This was the stuff that you got either in a can or you could get it in a bag, and it is usually called Popeye. Don't know why, except that if you remember the old Popeye cartoons, Popeye got his strength from eating his spinach. That gave him his super strength, kind of a thing. So that was the brand I remember my mother used to buy. But my mother hated spinach. So did everybody else in my family. And so on a rare occasion, after a whole lot of nagging on my part to her about it, she'd break down, she'd make the spinach, and in those days it was spinach that came with the stems, everything. It was not baby spinach, it was full leaf spinach. She'd dump it in a pot, pour on some water, and boil the crap out of it. So it was green slime. And then she'd go, here's your spinach on the plate. I loved it. I absolutely, and to this day, when Walter makes spinach, he makes it a little different. He adds some like breadcrumbs and some little spice and things like that in it, which is very nice. It's very good. He likes spinach. as well. But when he makes it, sometimes I say, so are you making it the way Mother used to make it, which means boil the hell out of it and slop it on my plate? And sometimes he will do it that way for me because I love it like that. Call me weird. So that was one of the foods. But another one was pancakes. I loved pancakes, and I especially loved pancakes for dinner. And it was very rare that my mother would make those because, one, she doesn't like pancakes. Go figure. I only found that out recently, that she doesn't like pancakes, because they had Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday, a few weeks ago in her nursing home, and they served pancakes. And I said to her, say, oh, you got some pancakes this week? Yeah, I hate them. But on a rare occasion, she'd make them. And I said that to her, Mom, but you used to make them for dinner time. She says, that was when we didn't have anything else to eat in the house. I went, okay, poverty food. All right, fine. But I love them. And I didn't get them that often. I still like pancakes. I don't eat them that much. Actually, I'd rather have crepes. I've upgraded. But nevertheless, my grandmother knew that I loved pancakes. And so she decided this was her opportunity when we were staying there one weekend, and that she would make for us big stack of pancakes. So she makes the pancakes. Now, I learned how to make pancakes, how to cook them properly, how to know when it's time to flip them from my grandmother, because she showed me how to do that. And it was during this episode. So what she did was she made all these pancakes, and then she's plating them, okay? So she was going to put one on the plate, put syrup on it, put another one on top, put syrup on it, put another one on top, put syrup on it, and make this huge stack. Except there was one little problem with her plan. She realized after she got all these pancakes made, she didn't have any syrup, maple syrup. All she had was corn syrup. So she decided, what the heck, it's syrup, I'll use that. So, pancake on the plate, corn syrup on top, pancake on that, corn syrup on top, pancake on that, syrup on top of that, pancake, and it went on. So in front of us little kids, the three of us, there's a stack of pancakes about this high, dripping in half a bottle of corn syrup. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with corn syrup or not. It's a staple. It's usually used in cooking. My mother used to like to, for lack of anything else for dessert, give us ice cream and put corn syrup on top of it. My mother liked corn syrup for some reason. But it's just god-awful sweet. And so she put it on all these pancakes, and there they are, just dripping in corn syrup. It would kind of remind you of when you see when people take out the honey from a hive, kind of a thing, you know, people who raise bees. There's a name for that. I know what it is, but can't think of it right now. Anyways, apiary, something like that. Anyways, and you just see it, all this golden honey dripping from it. Well, that's what this looked like, except it wasn't honey, it was corn syrup. So we eat it, and we eat it, and we eat some more because we're kids. We like sweet things, right? I was never so ill in my life after finishing that stack of pancakes smothered in corn syrup. I was just wretchedly sick. I can still remember it. And I was probably about 8 years old at the time, maybe 9. I don't know when she did this. I'm sure I probably hurled. I don't really remember that part of it, but now I cannot walk past a bottle of corn syrup on this shelf in a grocery store without, you know, kind of throwing up a little bit in my mouth and gagging. It's kind of a gross image, but you know what I mean. And it was all because of my grandmother being influenced by what she saw on a TV commercial that she thought was going to be great. But you know, the moral of the story is this. Grandparents spoil their grandchildren, and that's what grandparents are for. They do all the things that they didn't do with their own children, they do with the grandkids, because you know, you pump them full of sugar, and then you send them home to wear it off. It's not such a bad plan. It keeps the kids happy while you have them, and it sort of gives it's payback time to their own kids, you know, for the hell they probably put their parents through when they were little. But whatever, that to this day, nope, thank God it didn't turn me off pancakes. But the one thing you will never find in my house, well, that's not true. There is a bottle of corn syrup somewhere, but that's for cooking purposes only, and I don't know when the last time is I used that for even that. I like pancakes, but I'll never put corn syrup on something. Ever. Ever. So, that's my story about my grandmother blend this week. Next week, there'll be another tale of weirdness. Okay, so let's go to the 3D corner. And what have I been making? Well, lots of things. I've been making some pegboard accessories for Walter. I think I mentioned those last week. But another thing that he wanted was a thread stand that he could mount on the wall for his spools of thread in his sewing room. And so I found several different designs, and I found one that he liked, and so I printed it out. And of course, you know, with 3D printing, it takes days. I think this little project took about 8 hours or something to print. Looked pretty good when I got it all together. It was very basic, but you know, it had these little, you hung it on the wall. It had prongs, you know, on it that you put your thread on, and they were at a 45-degree angle, so it looked very nice on the wall. And then it broke. Yeah, the little spindles, or whatever you want to call them, the prongs, well, the design wasn't very good. It was basically, they were sticking one of these prongs onto a flat surface. It wasn't embedded in it. So of course they're going to break off. So he broke off a couple, I broke off one. I made him 2 more of these racks, and well, they're sort of working right now, but you know, the slightest move on them is going to break off a prong. So I found another design. And I finished it up yesterday. I think it took about 13 hours to print. I'm hoping that will be a little better with it. I even tried to design my own in one of the CAD programs that you use for this kind of thing. And yeah, not much luck with that. I need to really learn. I need to spend time learning one of these programs. They have a very steep learning curve. And that's basically why I haven't bothered, because I'd have to dedicate a lot of my time solely to that, and my attention span is not that great on things like that. I'd rather find a pre-made one and print it out myself from that. I'm not so much into the designing aspect of this kind of thing. But anyways, that's all I've been doing with the 3D printer this week, and I'm still loving it. In fact, I'm reading a lot of people who get the same printer as I have, a Corelity Ender 3 version 2, and there's so much complaining about trying to get the bed leveled and things like that, and I'm not having any problems, knock wood, with that. Yeah, it takes some patience, and it takes some practice to do it. And I have to admit, it was a little frustrating at the very beginning of it, but you know, these are not plug-and-play devices. This is a hobbyist kind of thing. You have to tinker with it. And I think that's kind of the thing that attracts me to it. I like to tinker. So, yeah, it's fun. So, I don't know what I'm making this week, but I'm sure I'll making something. All right. So, that takes us to the next part in my ongoing series about my fabric sculpture. So, here's part 4.
Okay, these have been sitting out here and drying for 2 or 3 hours, and they're still a little damp. They're stiff, but they're not as stiff as I think I would like them to be. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to spray them with a little bit more of that Mod Podge. Mod Podge. I always want to call it Mod Podge. I don't know why. Mod Podge. And just see if, let it sit, and maybe that'll harden them up a little bit more too. So here we go. I'm being pretty generous with this. Okay, we'll leave that. That's going to take a few more hours to dry, and we'll see what it's like when we come back. Okay, so these are still a little damp, but I can use them, and I've sort of laid them out here in the order that I want them to appear on this board. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift them off. And I'm going to lay down quite a bit more of the matte medium, the gel matte medium. And I'm going to put it on fairly thick because I want these to stick. Oops, that might be too thick. I don't know. Well, we'll spread that out because I want these to stick down very, very well. So then I'm just going to build this up. I'm going to kind of move them in a little bit, push them in. Put a little on the bottom of them too. Just using up the excess that I have here. And I'm just kind of shaping them. I'm not being that particular, just whatever looks good to me. And I'm hoping this will hold them down. And then I'm going to leave this for the rest of the day and overnight to dry down. I think I need a little bit more of this. And just rub that down in there. Okay, so right now it looks like a hot mess. I didn't use this piece, and I might cut a little bit of that off though. Maybe just stick it in there. And push that in a little bit more there. And I don't know, I might just chop off another little hunk. Stick it down in this area here. Just sort of filling in a few spots that look like they could use a little bit more texture. And maybe a little bit down under here. And I see one more little spot here. This is kind of like one of those things you just get going and it's kind of fun to do. Again, I said it was kind of messy, but messy can be fun. Okay, so I'm just seeing, is there any other spots I want to put it? a little up there, I don't know. I think I'm going to leave that and just wipe off my hands here a little bit. Luckily this all dries clear, hopefully. Now, I'm just wondering if I should add, maybe spray a little bit of this Mod Podge again over top of all of this, just to keep things a little bit on the stiff side. Okay, that's a lot. Hopefully it's not going to run into too much of a problem. And as I said, this is going to take quite a while to dry, so I think this is going to spend its afternoon now. So I'm just going to let it have the rest of the afternoon and into the evening, and we'll come back and revisit it tomorrow. Okay, so this is all dry now, and putting that extra coat of Mod Podge, the spray, on top of the fabric has made it really stiff, so that's not going to go anywhere. So I'm done pretty much the background layers, although I am thinking I might do some stencil work or maybe do some texture paste work up here along the top, just in a couple of spots. And I think I'd like to put a little gold or silver or something highlight on just some edges of this as well to make this stand out a little bit more. So that's going to be my next layer.
Okay, so update on my mother, she's fine. Still has a couple of little bruised marks underneath her eyes from when she did the face plant. I'm a little concerned about how slowly those are disappearing. Now, part of the problem is that my mother has always bruised extremely easily. Like if you went up and gave her a little tap on the shoulder, she'd have a bruise. She's always been that way her whole life. So for her, it may take a little bit longer. But boy, it's like when I see her on FaceTime, it's like talking to a football player. You know how they put those black marks under their eyes for whatever purpose that is for. That's how she's looking right now. But besides that, she's in pretty good, well, for my mother, she's fine. I was going to say she's in pretty good health. Well, yeah, she's in good health and everything, and she's fully vaccinated now for COVID. And we're waiting now for the big move from where she is now into the brand new home. But that's going to be another month and a half, I think. And that's, you know, given that she gets accepted to move there, and I think she will. I think she is going to go into there. And you know, as much as it's a brand new place in the whole bit, who knows, it'll probably open up a whole new can of worms that I will have to deal with. But she's fine. So what else? Okay, so long story short, because I already ran into this yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, so I'm not going to keep going on about it. I'm done. I'm moving on. Just to say that as far as the guild's concerned, I am no longer in it. I am no longer the secretary, and although I am still a member, I am not going to participate in anything they do from now on, so I've removed myself from the guild. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So this week we have a couple of videos of Wally Cooks. I told him that there's so much of what he's doing this week on this vlog, it should be not Bland Designs, it should be Wally Cooks. So here's the first one. Now he's making something called onion stew, but there's a Dutch name for it, and it's much more appetizing than it sounds. So I'll insert that here. So Walter's on his knees in the oven, putting away his bread making trays, and here's what he made today. And he did an egg wash. And is this just French loaf with an egg wash?
Yeah.
Okay. Smells good. Looks good. And he's got something going in the Instapot. What do you got in the Instapot, Wally?
Haché.
Who?
Haché.
Gesundheit. And what is haché?
It's Dutch onion stew.
Dutch onion stew. And there's no window on this thing, so I can't show you what that looks like. And what are we having with it? What's the green
we're
stuff?
having spinach and mashed potatoes.
Oh, are you making the spinach like my mother used to make?
It's sort of halfway in between.
Oh, halfway. See, Walter likes to do it with breadcrumbs and What else do you put in it
I
usually?
put pepper and soya and nutmeg in it.
And you see, the way my mother used to cook it.
Well, yeah, and breadcrumbs, yeah.
Yeah, my mother just used to boil the crap out of it and slop it on my plate because I was the only one in my family that liked spinach. She hated it. So whenever...
What, did your dad eat it?
My dad would eat anything. But, nah, my mother didn't like it. So if my mother didn't like it, it didn't get made. But that's the way I like it. I like the crap boiled out of my spinach. I don't know. It's just the way I like it. And then over in this pot, we have boiled potatoes. Oh, you're going to smash them now? Mm-hmm. Are you making creamy mashed?
Well,
My grandmother always made creamy mashed.
well, I don't know how your grandmother made it.
Well, you
so-
put it in a mix master. You
No,
put
I'm
in a
not
pound of
making it.
butter, and then you put in a whole gallon of milk, whole milk, and it's creamy mashed. And it's heart attack on a plate, but that's what we used to call creamy mash when I was a kid. So, mashed potatoes, spinach, and onion stew, or hash something. Hache. And that's what's for dinner tonight with Wally Cooks. Bread. And so here's the final product. This is the onion stew with the potatoes and the spinach and the fresh baked bread. Walter's just been slaving all day. Of course, he wanted the potatoes because the Dutch always mush their food up into their potatoes. It's gross.
And then when you just thought it was safe to get back into the kitchen, Wally cooked something else. He cooked his famous chicken parm.
This week we have a bonus video on Wally Cooks. He's cooking again. And he's flattening his meat. What was that?
Chicken.
Looks like
Actually, it's
roadkill.
half a chicken breast.
Half a chicken breast. So what are we making?
Chicken parmesan.
And what are you doing now?
I'm going to coat the outside of the flattened chicken breast with flour first. And
So
then
you're
I'm gonna-
dredging it.
Then I'm going to put it in egg wash. Oh, sorry.
So we're back because we were rudely interrupted by a telephone call. So where did we leave off? Oh yes, Walter was pounding his meat and he's dredging it.
Yes, I'm dredging it in flour first.
Uh-huh.
And then I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to put it through an egg wash, which is just a mixed up egg. And then I'm going to put it through some breadcrumbs. And I will air fry them.
Oh, you're going to air fry them. So we're going to air fry them using what?
It's an Instapot with a Milthy. It's called a Milthy lid.
A filthy lead.
Milthy.
A milthy lid. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So then what have you got over in this pan here? Is this your sauce?
That's my sauce. And then what we'll end up doing is that once I've finished air frying the chicken breasts, I will put them in the sauce with some Parmesan cheese and some mozzarella cheese on top. And as we cook the pasta, and then we'll serve it with pasta.
So is that a fly in the sauce?
No, that's a mushroom.
Oh, so
Because this is actually frozen sauce that we had, and I added a little bit more.
frozen sauce, so that was homemade before, you
Right.
mean? It's not like frozen sauce as in...
No, not frozen store-bought. We made it a while back, and
And when he
and-
says we made it, he means he made it
a while back.
a while back.
And so I just thawed it out and put it in pan so that we'll have a quick meal.
Okay. So, we're having some... What are we having with it? Pasta?
We'll have pasta, but I haven't decided what kind yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
it may be penne or something else.
Like as if I get a say in it or not. Okay, we'll come back when this is a little closer to being. So Walter has dredged his meat, and I missed the egg wash that's underneath the breadcrumbs.
It's just an egg that's all beaten up. And then I took breadcrumbs. We have these Italian ones that we use. But you can use any kind of breadcrumbs. And just after it's been in the flour, I dredged them through a beaten egg, and then put them into the
Breadcrumbs.
breadcrumbs and coated them all so they're ready to go to be fried.
And
So anyway, so Steve wanted some bread with our meal, right? So I made these yesterday, but they're frozen. I put them in the freezer and they're frozen, right? So I need about half a loaf. So this is how I get half a loaf from frozen because it's impossible to cut.
so
I put them on the counter. There's an edge here, right? And I go, well, that one didn't crack exactly in half, but it did.
And that's how he does it. But he's got one in here warming up in the bed. They're already cooked, but they're frozen, so he has to thaw them out, sort of, cook them, whatever. Your sauce is boiling.
Yeah, I know. I turned it off right now.
So the next stage of all of this is to put his meat in the sauce.
Yeah, well, I have to cook these, yeah.
Have to cook what? Yeah, the chicken
breasts, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're cooking them in the sauce, aren't you?
No, I'm cooking them.
Oh, you're cooking them in the Instapot first, then you're putting them in the sauce. Oh, okay. So this is the Instapot.
That's the Instapot. Well, I'm not actually using the Instapot. I'm just using the pot as a holder, right? But I'm using this as an air fryer lid that goes on top of the pot. So.
Okay, so that's how you cook the chicken.
Yeah, so it's called a milthy.
A milthy.
Milthy lid, and it's actually an air fryer.
Okay.
So.
Yes, it's one of the accessories to his favorite cooking device, the Instapot. We shall return. Okay, so Walter's got his chicken in the Instapot under the air fryer section, and see that? Lights right up. And you can, I don't know if you can see it in there, but those little glow-in-the-dark kind of pieces in there are chicken. Oh, he's can lift it up. There it is. So you see it's crisping up his chicken. Now, how long are you going to have it in there for?
I do 8 minutes on either side for at 400 degrees.
And then you'll throw it in the sauce.
Yes, I will.
And how long would you leave it in the sauce?
Well, I'm just going to put it in the sauce. These should be cooked through, and then just going to put them in the sauce while I cook the pasta and put cheese on top so that so the cheese melts.
Sounds good. Now, you know, I'm playing real stupid here, as if I can't make chicken parmesan, and that he can, but I can, and I have, and I've done it, and I don't do it with an Instapot. Well,
you used to do it with pre-frozen.
I've done it from fresh chicken before too. I just don't touch the Instapot because I don't know how it works. Because that's Walter's sacred Instapot. In fact, his Instapot doesn't stay in the kitchen. It goes into his sewing room, his office.
Well, it's only because we don't have a place for it in the kitchen.
No, it's just though I won't touch his Instapot.
No, you can have it.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you doing now?
Okay, I have my breast done, but I already put one in the sauce. And then I'm putting another one in. I sort of float them on the top. And then try and cover them up a little bit. Just so they're a little on the top, but just, covered up a little bit. And I know where they are. And we have frozen cheddars. We keep our shredded cheese in the freezer because otherwise it will go bad. And so I just put some shredded, this one is Edam and mozzarella. So I'm putting it on top here and waiting for it to melt. And then I'll cook the pasta as well.
So that's how Walter makes chicken parmesan.
Well, technically it doesn't have any parmesan.
I was just going to say, where's the parmesan part come in?
Well, I'll put parmesan on the table for us to use with the spaghetti.
When I make it, I sprinkle a little parmesan on top of the other cheese while it's sitting in the sauce. But I'm not making it because I don't know how. But there we go. So that'll be delish. So did we decide, and when I say we, I mean you again, have we decided on what pasta we're having?
What kind of pasta would you like?
Well, you know what I like.
I know what you like.
What do I like?
You like penne.
I do like penne.
I don't know if we have any penne in here.
What?
Oh yeah, there's some. We'll do penne.
Well, that's a good choice. I like that. Okay, so now Walter's finished cooking everything and he's going to plate it up. So there's the chicken parmesan, which looks like floating cheese in tomato sauce at the moment. And so here we go. He's plating it. I would have plated the pasta first and put that inside, but no, it's fine, whatever way you want to do it.
Well, I don't know. I'm not real. It's not real professional.
Oh. Yeah, well, I'm just being nasty. Okay, here comes the pasta. Penne. And there he's plating it up there. Of course, in a restaurant, they wouldn't have like stuff all over the rim, but
No, I know. It's called
Shame on
urban
it.
rustic, I guess.
oh, urban rustic. Oh, are we going to sit on the floor and eat with our hands too? So there it is, all plated up. Walter's chicken parmesan. He's taking it to the table. Go to the table. And we do have a salad with this. We have what I call bastardized Caesar salad because it's not made with romaine. It's made with head lettuce, iceberg lettuce, and bottled sauce, and real bacon bits from a bag. But anyways, yeah, this is rustic elegance here, right here.
So, what's coming up this week? Well, I just had to make sure that the video was still running. It is. What's coming up this week? Well, what we have is the Craft and Chat, which I've already talked about. The link is in the show notes, as you know. That's this coming Wednesday, March the 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, that's about all, except today, around noon today, I'm going off to Ultimate Sewing. Ultimate Sewing is closed on Mondays, but I'm meeting up with Donna, one of the staff there, and we're going to make a series of videos about new products and the store itself that is going to be presented during the retreat. So I have to go over and do some videoing with this, so I'm really not sure beyond what I just told you what that entails, but we'll see. And yeah, that's about the highlight of the week. That, and I have to house clean. Actually, I started house cleaning yesterday. I've got half of the house done. I have the other half after I'm off of here to finish up before I go out. And maybe if I get time, I've got another UFO that I've got to get quilted, so maybe I can get started on that this week as well. We'll see. Okay, so just on a final note here, update about the retreat. I just found out from one of the people who's registered in the retreat that on March the 20th, that's the date we're having the retreat, it's International Quilting Day. And she just wanted to know if I was planning anything for that. I didn't know it was. It was just a coincidence. So I decided that I would ask people who are registered if they'd like to send me one picture of a quilt or a crafting item that they're very proud of, and I'll create a slideshow out of all the ones that I get in with their name and their general location. No explanations about it. It's just going to be a quickie little slideshow because I don't want to fill the day up with a whole lot of activities to the point where people don't get a chance to actually work on what they want to work on. I'm using any activities like this video that I'll produce for Ultimate Sewing as breaks, kind of to give people a bit of a break as they're working, you know, to get up, stretch, whatever from it. So yeah, I'll have this little slideshow. So if you're one of the people that is registered and you haven't sent me one yet, please do. My email address is below, and I did send out an email stating that I only want one picture. It should be as an attachment to your email, and it should be in the form of a JPEG as well. And when I get it, I'll make a slide out of it, and it'll be part of the slideshow. Okay, so that's all that's coming up for now this week. Nothing else to tell you about. There'll be an episode coming out late tomorrow, Tuesday, of The Idiot Quilter, and on Wednesday, Craft and Chat. So it's a full week, I guess. I said nothing's coming up. Ha! Look at this. There is stuff coming up. Okay, I hope you have a good week. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay in, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.